Hey YouTube, Dostrider here with my review of Lupinranger vs. Patranger episode 12. So, this was a pretty average episode. It's going to be, I think, a fairly short review. Now it'll probably end up being like 15 minutes just because I said that. But mainly because it was kind of your classic filler episode. There wasn't anything huge that happened. It mainly revolved around them getting this Lupin Collection item that blatantly looked like, well, blatantly was a repaint of the Time Ranger Changer or the Chronomorpher from Power Rangers Time Force. And people have been bringing that up, and that's definitely a thing that, like, you know, lots of the Lupin Collection items are based off of, or just straight up repaints of Sentai items. Obviously that's purposeful in some way. I just certainly hope that it doesn't end up coming back to be like, oh, they're actually stolen from the Rangers somehow. Like, please, no anniversary stuff. It's not even an anniversary, or just stop. No crossovers, please. So, but I had to mention that because this was like one of the most blatant ones. Like, when I first saw it, like, in, I think, passing in like a preview or something, I honestly thought it was just the topper, but it's like the full-on bracelet. Because its whole bit was this ability was like making the monster faster, and like, it was actually kind of funny because the Lupin Rangers tricked the dude into basically boasting while like blue and red were tricking him while yellow stole it. But then the plot was revolving around a kid. It was a Sentai Kid episode, so instant eye roll. My eyes were rolling so hard, I think they just popped out. It's just... Side note before I get into this, it's really funny because whenever there's like a Sentai Kid episode and I'll complain about it, or I'll see someone else complain about it, there'll always be someone who's like, oh, well, they obviously do that because they like to have kids in the episodes because that's the main audience and they connect with it. And I can see the logic in that, but it just, I find that really unrelatable because even when I was a kid, when they would do an episode of a TV show, like a kid show that was about a kid, I was like, oh, I hate kids. Like, it was just like, I hated it. Like, I've always had a problem with TV kids that are super annoying. So if anything, that would always have me actually disconnecting from a narrative when it was about a kid. Especially Toku kids are so annoying. This kid wasn't so bad, I just didn't care. But his main story is he wanted to run fast to, like, inspire, show off, whatever, for his friend that's in a wheelchair. And what was nice, though, I want to give Lupinranger, Patranger props for something. They've done this before, which I've given them props before, but when you have a filler episode, the thing that makes it better for me, especially with Toku, is you have to tie it in some way to the main character, and they did that. It was a really small little tidbit, but it was about Lupin Blue, and it tied back to his fiance on how basically she more believed in fairy tales and like fictional stories and their power of inspiring people, and he sort of had to learn that from her because he was much more of a straightforward thinker, and he sort of applied that to the kid when he basically gave him a fake version of the collection piece to inspire him to run faster. Which was kind of a neat little twist at the end too when he switched it out. But that was the gist of the episode. It wasn't anything huge, but I do appreciate little details like that because one problem I have with filler like this, mainly in Toku because it's usually when it pops up, but in other stuff as well, is when you have a filler episode and you spend all this time on a meaningless character that you're never going to see again. The early 90s, or late 80s, early 90s, probably early 80s too, I haven't seen very many of them, but Sentai had this huge problem with this, where all the filler, you'd spend like a whole episode or multiple episodes on these absolutely worthless people that we're never going to see again. They're never going to be on the show again, they're just going to go off to parts unknown. And so why are we wasting time on these people? And you have to tie it to, like this episode, by tying it to Lupin Blue, at least gave us a nice, sort of semi-nice little Lupin Blue storyline. So like, you have to tie it to them in some way, other than them just being involved in it. Like, you'd have a story where like, the Blue Ranger would be involved in it, but he had no stakes in it. Like, you didn't learn anything about him, he didn't grow at all, there was nothing that endeared you to him, he was just there to participate in these nobody's storyline. So this one, at least, they gave him something to do. And so I appreciate that. Like, you have to, when you do stuff like this, in my opinion, you have to either tie it to them in some way, in an emotional or story beat, or like they're going to be a character you're going to see again that's going to come back. But so I'll give them credit for that. But other than that, I really didn't care about what was happening. It was a pretty run-of-the-mill episode, you know? You have kid moral lesson, one ranger ties in with it, fight monster, blow it up. There was no new introductions of things or anything like that. I don't even think any of the higher-up ganglers even made an appearance. It was just really, probably one of the most run-of-the-mill Sentai episodes. I know I said that last week, but last week actually was kind of, despite last week having a much sillier premise than this week, it had a much more, quote-unquote, stronger character focus. and then we kind of got a debut of an auxiliary mech. Not that I'm saying that everything, like every episode has to be a debut of something, but I'm just saying it's funny to think that I feel like these last 2 episodes have been the most classic Sentai filler episodes, but like if you were to tell me the plot points on paper, I would probably say that last week would have been the most throwaway, but it actually had more significant stuff happen. But yeah, this was just overall okay. I really wasn't too huge on it, but I didn't hate it. I'm just not a fan of Sentai Kids storylines. But again, like I said, I'll give them props for actually tying it to one of the character stories. So I'd probably give episode 6.5. I'm actually quite looking forward to next week's episode. It's going to have Lupin Yellow and Nigo tied together? Is it Nigo? Ichigo? Yeah, I think so. Kasango's green. And that should be fun. I don't think it'll lead to anything like identities being outed. Who knows, though? I mean, she has to be pretty stupid to be that close to her and not see it. She figured it out before. But anyway, I think that'll be a fun one just to have them interacting a bit, because even though this week was kind of a frivolous throwaway, it did kind of lean towards Lupin Rangers a little bit, so it'll be nice to see those two different teams interacting, or at least 2 members of those teams interacting, and potentially actually some interactions with the others, like as they try to figure out how to free their teammates. But anyway, that's about it. Until next time, if you like, comment, subscribe. It's Awesome Rider, signing out.